Hey everybody, I have a video here for you today, and this has been suggested by a few people. I've had a message from a friend and a few others saying that they wish I would make this video, and I really need to make this too, because I've had a lot of comments by people, a lot of them new to my channel, where they see, I think the Sphinx originally was the great god ANUBIS on a shrine, like the Egyptians say, and they are new to this theory, and they, what, it's a lion, it's facing Leo, and all of that. And once in a while I get a little rude with people commenting, and that's just for the fact that I've been researching this for 5 years, and I have gone over all the evidence, and then people say, well, it's a lion, and I just get a little frustrated, and I do apologize for that. But there are only two subjects that I am vehement and confident about where I know the whole story, and I'm willing to discuss that with anybody who wants to take it up with me. And one of them is the history of the monument we call today the Sphinx, and it originally was ANUBIS, and I am going to go over the top 10 reasons why I think this, and just the evidence. And I'd just like to say a few things. First of all, this is not my original theory. I read a book about, must have been about 5 years ago, 6 years ago, called The Sphinx Mystery, The Sanctuary of ANUBIS by Robert Temple, and that book piqued my interest because really we never had a true history, and it's been a great mystery what originally the Sphinx was, and great work has shown that it is probably thousands of years older than we originally think it was. And I really wanted to look into this, and Robert Temple's book, when I first read it, I thought, well, that's interesting, and that's really all I thought, so I started looking into it, and I was really, to be very honest with you, shocked when I started reading all the ancient Egyptian text and looking at the art, and especially around the resurrection story coming from the ancient Egyptians. And I realized there is no mention of a lion guarding the Giza necropolis at all. And it's all about ANUBIS. And I'm going to go over my top 10 reasons. Reasons number 1, people say, well, the dog wouldn't fit. That's not right. The dog wouldn't fit. Well, I made this video, and though it's kind of a crude comparison, you can see perfectly where the Sphinx today, eroded over time, could have very well been the great god ANUBIS, because if you just take off the head of what we see today, that is the eroded body of ANUBIS. That is not how the ancient Egyptians depicted a lion. The back would have been different. And I just think that is important to start out with. Now, we are going to go on here. Now, reason number 2, it's very simple, and just by this alone, you could say the Sphinx was probably ANUBIS in its original form. And it's because ANUBIS was the original god of Rostau, which is ancient Giza. So what do? You put up the god of your, or a monument of your original god. That just makes perfect sense. A huge clue to the origin of this great monument. Let's go on to reason number 3. Now, reason number 3, this is Tut's ANUBIS confirms the Hall of Records. And in this video from a few weeks ago, this is the only intact ANUBIS shrine coming from a pharaoh's tomb. Tut's tomb was not looted, so we get a story coming directly from 3,500 years ago, and it's everything we suspected about the Sphinx being on top of something secret and chambers below it. This confirms everything that we suspected about the Sphinx. And going on here, the next reason is the art coming from the ancient Egyptian tombs, the important tombs, where important stories were laid out. When looking for a lion, somehow being connected to the Sphinx, everything you find, all the art, has the great god ANUBIS in the posture of the Sphinx, coming from many different dynasties, coming from the most important tombs, honoring the great god Anubis on his shrine. It's obvious this comes from the 4th dynasty. Tut's tomb. It's clear what the ancient monument was, and here connects it directly to Orion. It's all about Anubis. And in this video, I believe this is reason number 5, the anthropomorphic gods of Egypt. The Egyptians looked at the animals as their version of nature and God, and it's what these animals did and represented and what the Egyptians saw that became part of the myths, or the reason these were chosen for anthropomorphic gods. And the great god Anubis was seen perching at the edge of cemeteries, at the edge of the desert, guarding them. So that is exactly why the Sphinx was Anubis in its original form. Reason number 6, and this is really one of the most important, looking at these ancient Egyptian texts that were copied from much earlier texts. What does it say? It says that there is a giant Anubis who is foremost of the Westerners guarding the Giza necropolis, and it's clear it talks about Anubis on his shrine, and there are other things. His name is Dogface, his size is huge from the coffin text, and it's clear, and I just think this is a total failure of the historians to give you the true story of what this original monument was. Reason number 7 in this video here, proof the Sphinx was Anubis. There was a tomb made for a dog, a royal dog, probably a guardian dog, and this dog was given a special burial by a pre-dynastic king, just because the king isn't identified, and I think I know who he is from the Turin's king list. He is a pre-dynastic king, and the only reason why he says he gave his special royal dog a special burial out in front of the Great Pyramid is so that the dog could be buried before the great god Anubis, telling us from pre-dynastic times what the original shrine was from an ancient Egyptian king himself. Reason number 8 is the alignment of the great monument, and there is only one alignment. And people have said, boy, you know, Graham Hancock isn't going to like this, or so you're disagreeing with Graham Hancock. And let me be very clear, I love Graham Hancock's work, and I would not be doing ancient research videos if I had not read Fingerprints of the Gods. I like Mr. Hancock's work. It is groundbreaking, it is important, but this is just one thing I disagree with him with. That's all. I think his 10,500 alignment, I think all you need is the pyramids and the Nile River to make that alignment. He didn't need to throw in the Sphinx's alignment looking at Leo. I just thought I would talk about that. But the true alignment is to the spring equinox sunrise, the day that signifies resurrection. Anubis is the preeminent god, the first god of resurrection at Rostau, ancient Giza. It's very simple. Reason number 9, the paws, from what we can see from photos from the 1800. These are not lion's paws. Lion's paws look different than the Anubis paws, and it's clear, and I just show some lion's paws, but it's clear what we see here from old photos, and here you can see the brickwork covering the original structure, but it's obvious that these are Anubis paws. The ancient Egyptians, if it was a lion, they would have put lion's paws on it. Simple as that. And finally, reason number 10, and probably the most important reason, is from an ancient text. I believe this comes from the Papyrus of Ani, part of the Book of Coming Forth by Day, the chapter on ancient Rostau, which is present-day Giza. It talks about the Lord of his divine temple before you reach the Great Pyramid, and that text identifies this temple as the temple of Tep-2-F, which is Anubis on his hill. the ancient Egyptians themselves, the early ones, identify the ancient temple as the temple of Anubis on the hill. Proof alone what this ancient structure was originally, but taking all 10 of these reasons, there is only one conclusion you can come to, and that it was originally Anubis. And I just think this is a great failure of historians not to bring you the true story of this great monument. I hope you thought this was interesting, and you all have a very nice day.